Thank you for joining us this morning on our training Powered by Ground. Every Tuesday we talk about the pie of real estate. And the Powered by Ground is here because we want to teach brokers how to better service their clients. And I mean, there's a lot of classes out there that teach scripts. There's a lot of classes that teach sales pitches. We want to teach about services because I truly believe that the more services that you learn yourself how to provide, the better you'll serve your clients and the better it will be a return on investment with your clients. So our goal is to learn better how to service your clients. And the motto oftentimes used here at Powered by Ground is to be trained by the professionals in the industry. Some of you know about me. I've been in the industry over 20 years and have serviced many clients in many facets, and that's what we talk about here on Tuesdays. There's three categories in real estate. There's resale, new homes, and distressed. And our goal is every Tuesday is to talk about a people group or a customer in one of the categories, and we talk about what services we have to equip ourselves with to better service these clients. If we don't learn about these services, we are not a resource to our clients, and that's why we will not be able to service them. Our vision here in Powered by Ground is to learn to serve your clients and their immediate needs. What is the goal? The goal is that studying this program and going through this program, you'll identify what service instruments you truly want to equip yourself in. And when you equip yourself in those instruments, in these service opportunities, you'll be able to service better your clients. Mission, learning to serve your clients in all aspects of life situations. This is why we have a distress category here. Why? Because unfortunately, everything happens in life. There's high seasons where all of us make a lot of money, life is good, everybody's celebrating. There's low seasons in life. When we're stressed out, when we're sick, when we're tired, when unfortunate circumstances hit us in our lives, whether they hit us in business, and we have to learn how to work through those. We cannot just get washed out of the industry or get washed out by our customers. And then networking. There's huge power in networking. There's huge power in collaboration. And that's why I believe that we have to collaborate here. We collaborate online. We collaborate in person. But when we collaborate, we rub off of each other. We rub off experience. We rub off how we went through this transaction or that transaction. And we move forward through that. That's why Powered by Ground exists. And again, we have a lot of other classes at Keller Williams that focus on a lot of other things. How to put a deal together, how to go through forms, how to work on scripts, and all of that has its place. But here we want to talk about how to service your clients in a better way. We always have motivational thoughts of the day. And this morning, the motivational thought of the day is the pullbacks of life. The pullbacks of life. Why I have these motivational thoughts of the day? Because outside of business, we have life to deal with. And we have to become more and more aware of what's happening in our life, in our personal life, and in our business life. What do I mean by pullbacks on life? Give you a simple example. All my 4 kids got sick this year. They got sick not for 1 day, they got sick for 60 days. That's a pullback. What happens? Well, you sleep less, you eat less, you're emotionally less. You don't have the emotions to service your clients because you're going through this drought in your business. But all of us, they say in business or in life, you'll have 2 pullbacks a year. That's what they say. You will at least have 2 pullbacks a year. When they've looked at successful people, they say every person goes through 1 to 2 pullbacks in a year. What does that mean? A good friend of mine, a broker in our market, his dad just passed away. What does that mean? That means probably for a couple of weeks, you're not going to be in your perfect state. That might ripple into your finances, they'll ripple into your transactions, they'll ripple into everything else. That's a pullback. And all of us in business will have pullbacks, 1 to 2 a year. So what do? If you are aware, you can prep. If you're not aware, you're going to think you can just weather it. But weathering is never the best solution. Being prepped is a lot better solution. So what happens? Even when I was being in a pullback, I come and I talk to my team and I say, hey guys, I'm sick, I'm going to come in 2 hours late. My family needs some help, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to put 2 hours less into my workday because I got to take care of family. But you're aware and you help everybody around you be more aware also. And again, all of us in business life will have a pullback. And this is where collaboration is so needed. Why? Because you're emotionally a lot more tense. So your clients used to say something, and you'd be like, whatever, brush it off, move it out. But in this moment, when you're in a pullback, a client says something, man, you're snapping. Why are you snapping? Because you're in this mode. You're getting drawn away by something else that is draining you, and your way of servicing your client is becoming a more complicated situation. Then what do? Well, then you have to work a support system for your own self. I call it the net that catches you. So all of us have to be in an area when we're in a pullback, we have a net that eventually catches you so you do not crash. We all have a free fall. We're all falling in life. And then you call 3 people, and they kind of like the firemen, they throw out the net and they catch you in midair. That's what helps in reinstating life. They catch you, they put you back on your feet, you kind of brush off the dust and you keep walking. But if you don't have that net, what happens? You drop lower, you crash, and it takes longer to come out of the pullback. So in my life, I have those 2 or 3 or 4 people. I have coffee with them once a week, maybe once in 2 weeks. Why? Because these are the people who capture me in my net and put me back on my feet. If you don't have this, you can't run. You can't even walk. Because once you have the pullback, you're done. You're going to go into this free fall mode until you crash, and then when you crash, you're like, oh, I can't be in this state. I got to figure something out. You start put pieces together, you get up, but like 2 months have passed by. Your customer experience has dropped through the bottom. Your clients are feeling it. Your clients can't understand what's going on with you, and so forth. This class is all about how do we service our clients better. This helps you service your clients better. When you're in a pullback, and all of us will have it, and I mean it, when I'm talking about this, you're already looking at 2024 and you're like, man, I had this. It was right there. You can point it in your life. But how did you come out of this pullback? And you got to understand, business is like a race. It's like sports. You have to understand your best performance, your low performance, how you're working in between all of this. But you cannot allow pullbacks to crash you. So that is kind of the motivation of the day. Think about the pullbacks that are happening in your business and how you're coming out of them. In our team, a lot of brokers, why I talk to a lot of brokers, because when transactions go low or income is low and so forth, these are different stuff that pull us. And we get emotionally unstable, and this is why we have to collaborate. We have to. Because it's that net that captures you before you crash. So again, going back to the topic for this morning, we're going to talk about servicing our clients better. How do I service my client better? And the better I serve my client, the better I'm going to get paid, the more I'm going to get paid. The better I service my client in their immediate needs, the more it will ripple effect back into my business. And again, we'll go through all the three categories. We'll talk about resale, we'll talk about new construction, we'll talk about distressed, because I believe that in our business, if you're going to be in the lawn race, you're going to come across all of these categories of people, and you have to learn how to service them. And today we're just going to focus on one category. It's called resale. Resale is where you're just working with customers that are looking to buy a home or sell a home. And today I'm going to talk about, for some of you who are more seasonal, this is going to be kind of a walk in the park. For those who are new, this is going to be a lot of new information. But you can think about other categories. Today we're just going to talk about the category buyer. In resale, we service buyers. When a buyer approaches you, he's expecting something of you. And this is what we're going to talk about. What services can I do or have to provide to my buyer to better service them? I'm actually going to write these down. Eventually I'll have them in PowerPoint, but right now you'll just have to read my scribbles. So we're going to do resale. We're going to do buyer. And we're going to talk about categories. So the first thing you have to learn in real estate is scripts. You better know what to ask, what questions to ask, how do you talk to this person, the buyer. So you have to learn scripts. In scripts, you learn motivation, when they want to buy, where they want to buy. In scripts, you understand the flow of the conversation and you understand how to vet the client. So scripts is very crucial. You can get that at Mike Ferry, at Tom Ferry. A lot of other, Keller Williams has a handful of educations on script writing. But scripts is something you have to learn and you practice them. I still today practice scripts, but in different categories. When people are making outbound calls, when I'm calling to clients, I actually sit there and I process how and what am I going to talk about. I always remember the hardest script was when I was trying to get married. The proposal script. That was the hardest script in my whole career. I went through it like 20 times. And I scrapped, and then I rewrote, and I scraped, and I rewrote, and I scraped, and then when the conversation goes, it's a total other script, right? So script writing is part of life. Whether you think you're not a script writer or not, you are. Every time I'm just trying to make this a lot easier than it's like, oh, scripts. Every time you're having a conversation, you're going through scripts. The best scripts are the ones that ask the best questions. So the person who asks the best questions is the best script. You have the best scripts. So when I talk to investors, when I talk to builders, when I talk to buyers, so when you want to buy, how are you going to buy it? How are you going to finance it? Who referred you to, and so forth. This is all scripts. Scripts is very crucial. Then we have to also utilize platforms. Spend a couple of hours understanding platforms, how to use the MLS, how to use Zillow, how to use so many other platforms that your buyer will be using. You know home sell on Craigslist. And your buyers are going to search stuff on Craigslist. Your buyers are going to search stuff on Redfin, on Zillow, on the MLS. Learn these platforms in and out. Don't expect your buyers to learn them on their behalf. You learn them. You're providing, remember, we're providing a service. What's your service? You know how to use platforms where real estate is sold. That is your service. You understand how they work, how they operate, how people send you links, and so forth. How people need to save homes in Zillow. There's saving categories in the MLS and so forth. You're learning, and you're learning yourself while you're teaching your buyers. It's very important, especially now with the whole NAR, about representation. We have to talk to our buyers and talk about why they need representation in our service in the industry. And you do almost have to convince them why using a broker is better than not using a broker. And that is part of the script. Why? Because we use that same script for the sellers. We tell the sellers, don't do FSBOs. Why? We'll use a broker. And you spend the next 2 hours explaining them why they need to be using a broker. Same goes with buyers. Hey, Mr. or Mrs. Buyer, the reason you need to be using a broker, what's your script? If you don't have one, then you're not doing them any service. Might as well, work everything up until you get here. But people call me in all my spheres of real estate transactions that I do because they want some level of representation. It's like, oh, you know how to use the MLS. Oh, you know Zillow. Oh, you know this. Again, back to our service list. Oh, you know all the lenders. Oh, you know all the inspectors. And we're going to get to that. So you know this, and you're bringing all these services to the buyer to help them facilitate their transaction. You want to know forms. Buyers don't have time to go through 30 pages of our forms. So you better take that 30 page, and I say one of the best things that teachers or trainers do is they take complex things and simplify them for the person. That is what we're doing. We're taking very complex transaction and simplifying it to a couple levels of development so we can move these people from one to another. So we're taking complex things and simplifying it to them. That's what forms help you do. So we have to understand representation, we have to understand forms, and then we got to understand how we're going to communicate with our client. SMS, emails, drips, phone, Instagram, whatever. You got to figure out how you and this client are going to communicate. And you got to set that straight. You will expect a call from our secretary. You'll expect a call from my transaction coordinator. You'll expect a call from me. So you have to set the grounds of how communication is going to happen. I always say that if I talk to a client, hey, my salesperson, my transaction person, or somebody from my office is going to reach out to set our next meeting. So I'm always pushing of how I communicate with the client. Or you always hear from me, or you'll always hear from my team. What is the level of communication that the buyer and the service that you're offering should expect? So the next level of service we're talking about is lender and finances. It's a whole other level of industry. But my friends, if you do not understand at least a little bit about financing, FHA, conventional, down payment, mortgage insurance, no mortgage insurance, taxes, is it included, is it not included? You have to know these things to be better servicing your buyers. And again, some of us, when we start, we've never bought property ourselves, so we have no idea what we're talking about. But guess what? You will have to learn on behalf of yourself and on behalf of your client. You will have to learn. And this is why we are doing this training, is because I believe a lot of brokers, they learn scripts, but they don't learn anything else. Or they've learned forms, but they have not learned anything else that has to do to servicing their client. And you're going to say this is a lot of work. Well, this is what you get paid for, to work. Real estate is a real-time job. People who excel in this job and in the services that they provide to their clients excel in their job. You know, if I told you all the services that I can provide for my customers, it would go off of this list. Why? Because over the years, I've learned to cultivate the services of levels that I offer. Why? Because it's the greater pool of real estate. And I understand that I have clients in resale and new homes and distressed. I've seen clients in all faucets. And I've had to equip myself with all these services because I'm trying to help the client move from one choice to the next one. And the only way they'll move in a direction is if I provide a service. If I don't, they're just going to sit there. So you have to understand communication. You have to understand lenders, loans. If you don't, go out there, ask for the top producers in the county, and go talk to 3 or 5 lenders and just say, hey, I'm a buyer in the market. Explain things to me. Teach me something about being a buyer and how finances work. I want to buy a house. I will play that role, and now you on the other side sell me your product. And the lender starts to go out, and he tells you all the programs, all this, all that, and so forth. The next service is title companies. Whether you're seasonal or whether you're a new broker, title companies are your friends. They have all the data. They do a lot of volume. A lot of title reps have a lot of experience. Most one closer, title rep closer, closes more transactions than a broker, solo broker does in 1 month. So they see a lot more transactions than you or I do, oftentimes. So if my title rep closes 60 deals a month, which is kind of a good closer, most brokers do not solo close 60 deals a month. Most don't. So the experience that that closer has in transactions is really, really high. So what can you talk to about it with a title person? Experience in transaction closing. How do you do it? What's the best way? How do you formulate? How do you schedule? When you receive loan docs, how does this all work? How does the processes? How does notary work? How about if a person died? What about divorce? Whatever. They're closing a high volume of transactions. They're seeing more experience than most brokers will. You're after the experience with your closer. You're after their experience. You have to talk to the title rep and say, give me, I call them case studies. I want to hear case studies of how you took a challenging, short sale that took 3 months to close. How did you end up closing it? Tell me about it. And a title rep will tell you. So title reps or title closers, they have more experience than most brokers in closing deals at the finish line. And that's what you're after with them. You want to create the best experience for your buyer with that title rep. Then when we go back to, research platforms, I would probably go off of this, and I would say it's really good to know about schools, area, maybe crime rate. This is more on the level of platforms. Because if your buyer has kids, they're asking questions about schools. If they have kids, usually they ask about crime rate. So there's some data points off of platform that you should slowly start to study. Population growth, all of these things are very important. But that's all has to do with research in the MS. And then going back to transactions, you want to talk to inspectors. And I'll tell you, probably 35R is like always the threshold in transactions. This is like where all the emotions arise. This is where once you meet past the 35R, it's almost like from here it's to home base. Like we made it. 35R is a big thing. It's a big thing for the sellers. It's a big thing for the buyers. It's like the pinnacle of the transaction. I worry more about 35R than sometimes about the appraisals. I really mean it. Because when an inspector says the house is falling apart, but it's been there for 50 years, you have to tell your buyer that, hey, it's going to be here for another 50 years, even if we have to change the roof. It's okay, right? But the impression is always like it's falling apart. That's like like the minute, like it's like grades, you know, like when you write a paper and then your teacher gives it back to you and it's all red line and you're like, no, it's not that bad. Like, and then you sit there and argue with your teacher that it's not a C, it's a B or maybe an A minus, you know. You're always trying to like, don't redline it so much. Like, that's how I think home inspectors are. It's like same thing with inspectors, city inspectors with new home builds. Every time you get a red line, you're like, what did I do wrong? Like it always puts you in this back to like your grading, like almost like you feel like a downgrade. It hits your ego, right? So like this is kind of what inspectors do on a transaction. Like your buyer's all excited, they get into the house and then the inspector goes through it and then they get 5 line items and the buyer's like, whoa, what's wrong with this house? And then you have to spend 5 days like revamping the whole emotions. And it's the same on anywhere, like new home sales, resale, distress, it doesn't matter. Like that's why you want to talk to inspectors a lot, because you want to help your buyers through this hurdle. You want to say, hey, yes, we got 3 items. That's like $1,000. We got this figured out. Let's move on. Like, it's not a big deal. Like, we'll figure this out. Boom. Or like, you know, if a roof needs to get changed, you know, we'll get 5 contractors to check out the roof. Or water heater needs change or whatever. Like, but you want to become a big service in this area. And we've talked about this, and I'll kind of repeat. There's a timeline of a transaction. And you as the professional need to know how to help the client move along every single process. That is our job. And you have to learn scripts almost at the beginning, how you talk to the client, at the 35R, and at the closing table. Like, you have to figure out all of this. Like, I got a transaction right now. People want to put a TV on the wall, like, and we're closing like in the week, and they're making such a big deal. And I'm like, guys, it's just a TV on the wall. It's not a big deal. Let's put it on there, move this thing to close. But like, we're having to have like 10 conversations around the TV. And like, I'm fine, let's have 10 conversations around the TV if that's what's going to make the client feel a lot better. But that's a service that we're offering. I'm not going to say like, screw. So I'm just saying like, they're going to like, you're going to have a pushback and you have to learn scripts on how to move this thing forward. And like, yeah, not a problem, let's get TV. Let's get the Best Buy installers on this. Let's get this TV on the wall. Let's make everybody feel happy and comfortable. Like, no issue. Let's keep this thing going forward. So all of these categories, this is a handful. I didn't want to make too long of a laundry list. But this is, and you might look at this list and you're like, man, that's so much work. Yes, it is work. You have to learn these things, otherwise you cannot move transactions forward. You cannot take a transaction from start to finish if you don't understand how to service your buyer on buying a home. You won't. You're going to get emotionally unstable, and you're going to put your client in emotionally unstable, and that 35R out the window, and your buyer's disappointed, and you're the worst broker in town, period. That's what's going to happen. Why? Because we're not offering the best service to our clients. We actually don't know how to. So we started with resale, and we're talking about servicing a resale buyer. And when I started in real estate, that was actually the first client I serviced, is a buyer in the market. And they were buying a distressed property. It was a short sale. So I went through a lot of roller coaster, a lot of cram, to learn a lot of things in the first transaction. Yes, you get brain freezes. Yes, you get exhausted. Yes, you get tired. But if you don't learn these services, you can't provide that service to your clients. So a couple takeaways just from this morning. We have to learn how to service our clients. Powered by Ground is here to help facilitate that, help you learn that servicing your clients is part of our business. The better and better equipped you are in servicing your clients in this area, resale, buyer, the better you will be. If you do not understand how to service your client in this area, then your client is going to feel like you're not doing them a favor, and they're going to move on to somebody else. So a takeaway. Takeaway is start slowly at each process. go to the MLS class, go to the forms class, go to the scripts class, start signing up and getting educated in these areas. Second takeaway, like we talked, the motivation of the thought. There's going to be pullbacks on life. There's going to be a pullback on your life. There's going to be pullbacks in my life. But not that they will always be there. What are you going to do to start to understand how to move through them? And again, it's all about habits. We have to retrain our habits. I had a pullback. What did I do right? What did I do wrong? What am I going to do next time? And people who excel are not people who are just better than anybody, but it's people who have learned to change their habits. That's about it. So when I have a pullback, I'm not like, oh, everybody's fault. If I could have done better, if the kids were healthy and blah, 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 blah. Like, that's not what I do. I'm like, I got a pullback. Things I wanted to start are going to get pushed out. We'll get to them a little later. Rearrange some stuff, rearrange my schedule, rearrange my sleep schedule. And you got to just work through all that and keep going forward. So you have to take the life's punches and rearrange yourself and to move forward. Another takeaway is if you do not learn services in these three categories, resale, new homes, and distressed, it's going to be really hard for you to compete in the industry. And one of the things we teach here on Tuesdays and on Fridays is that the market changes. And I would say the market changes probably about every 5 to 8 years. And when market change, you have to change and tweak your services. You have to. If you don't, then you're kind of out of luck of servicing those clients. So you must learn how to service your clients on behalf of where the market goes. Any questions?